What is going on, guys? It's Raw from Heroes Avenue. This is going to be a spoiler-filled conversation of the Suicide Squad, and I have a lot of things to get off my chest, so I'm going to wait just a little bit to see who else hops on, but please do let me know who is in the building right now. If you do comment in, I'll definitely respond to you. I'll shout you out. And yeah, I definitely would like to talk about it more so than just give my thoughts, which I'm definitely going to do. So if there is anyone watching right now, definitely hop in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and we're going to get to talking about my likes, my dislikes of the movie, and then what is what it's like on what it's like in the fan community right now. And I don't know if you guys are on social media. Most people are, but if you aren't, if you're lucky enough not to be on it, then you probably aren't seeing all the craziness that's happening and all the how divided it is right now. So yeah, so we're gonna get started in just a second. Again, it's I'm glad I got to watch this movie. I didn't watch this movie in the theaters. I had to watch it at home because I'm actually after this live stream, I'm gonna be packing my bags and headed out to Disneyland for a family vacation. I know it's crazy because it's the COVID situation and everything right now, but I am headed to Disneyland right after this live stream. So I'm gonna talk. We're gonna hang out and chill for about 45 minutes talking about this. But yeah, this is a movie I didn't get to see in the theaters, but I wish I had seen it in the theaters for all the obvious reasons. But I had to watch it you had to put my kid to bed, and we were packing our bags, and I had to watch it, in the middle of kind of packing my bags and everything like that. So again, before we get started, if there is anyone in the chat that wishes to give their thoughts as I go through the likes and dislikes, please do hop in the chat. It would be awesome to interact with you guys, because I haven't been doing these live streams because I've been having some camera issues. So if I do have any camera issues, apologize for that in advance. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm here till 4:45, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with my likes of this movie, because Darren posted a video of his quick thoughts after watching it. He's lucky enough to have watched it in a theater. I've been back to the theaters just once, watched Black Widow when my mom was able to babysit my son on a Friday night, so that was cool. So I wish I got to see this movie in the theater again. So starting off with my general thoughts and likes of the movie. I didn't really plan this. I just came into this coming kind of from the top of my head, talking about my likes and dislikes. So first of all, this movie I thought was really very well made. The pacing of the movie I really quite enjoyed. I loved how we started off right off the bat, getting right to it. No explanation. I mean, there kind of was a little explanation, but in the middle of introducing us to some new characters, we get a quick explanation of what the Suicide Squad is, and quickly throwing us in there for a mission, which was pretty cool. I really did like that aspect of it. I did love how the transitions worked in this movie. The chapters, it was definitely broken down into chapters, and I loved how when each specific chapter was over, we got a pretty cool and creative transition into the next chapter of the movie. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later when I get into when I start specifically talking about different sections of the movie. But obviously this world felt, some people will disagree, we'll talk about the divisiveness in the fandom, but I did feel like this world was right in line with the world that David Ayer created. Now David Ayer's world that he created in the Suicide Squad also felt like it was part of the wider DCEU, especially, I wasn't the biggest fan of the theatrical cut of the Suicide Squad, but I did think that this movie felt right in line with the world built by David Ayer. But also, it did have, of course, the James Gunn feel. If you watch any of James Gunn's previous movies, I saw a little bit. I can't even remember what the was. I saw a little bit of Slither. but I didn't see the whole thing, so I gotta watch that whole thing. I was kind of watching it late at night, but obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, it did have that James Gunn feel, which obviously you're gonna expect, and I think a lot of people really enjoy that aspect. Maybe you are not someone who likes things like that, but I did like it. And if you think about it, James Gunn is someone who is really in love with the Suicide Squad comics. I think the story he told was that he fell in love with the John Ostrander run and then got back into the comics when the New 52 came out of the Suicide Squad. So he is someone who's definitely versed in the lore and really took a lot of inspiration from that. And I think that it's very apparent when you watch the movie. It did feel like a comic book. It felt like it captured the spirit of a comic book, a Suicide Squad comic book. So I thought that aspect of it was pretty cool. I think I did love that this movie felt really. It had different parts of the movie that felt like different scenes or different types of movies, like the war movie aspect in the beginning, which was great. I thought the war movie aspect of the feel on the mission in the beginning, I thought that was really cool. It did feel like a war movie throughout the first half of the movie, and then towards the ending it did feel like a sci-fi movie. I loved the introduction to Starro being a crazy character to introduce for a movie, and a pretty ballsy move, but one that you would imagine James Gunn would love to tackle. But Starro ultimately being the big bad villain was something that I was like, man, is this kind of a red herring? Is there really someone else behind the big villains? But no, it's actually Starro, and I loved how it felt like a sci-fi horror movie at times. Before even we got the big reveal of Starro, you kind of, before he broke out, you got the kind of the lost footage of Starro being discovered, and then you kind of see him slithering through the building trying to get out, and then when he finally gets out, yeah, it's freaking Starro. And man, it was awesome. It was awesome. Never thought I would love to see Starro in a movie, to be honest, but yeah, I thought it was great, and I really liked the way the movie was edited. The movie. The editing of the movie was great, and the way he told the stories of the different characters was really awesome, because we got to see everyone's backstory for the most part, but we got it at different times when you weren't expecting it, and I did like that approach. It's not the most cookie cutter approach, not to say the cookie cutter approach is bad, but I did like how we got a little bit of Danielle Melchior's character, the Ratcatcher 2's character, a little bit later on in the movie, so we got the introduction to Bloodsport and everything, but seeing Polka Dot Man's backstory, a little bit of the backstory and the rationale for him having all those polka dots and what his powers are and everything, I loved how we got flashbacks of it, and the creative way that James Gunn kind of with each character told their story, and we'll talk a little bit about that more when we get into the characters. But yeah, I think comic books, you read a comic book, they do this a lot where, they'll tell you an initial story, and then maybe in the second issue, you'll have flashbacks, or even maybe within the same issue, they'll have flashbacks to a character's past and what makes them tick. And I thought they did that in this movie and thought it was great. But getting into specifically the characters, oh man. First of all, let's talk about, well, yeah, we'll talk about the main characters, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the other characters later. But Harley Quinn, holy crap, Harley Quinn was awesome in this movie. Harley Quinn, she was not the main focal point or the main driving force behind this movie. They did definitely utilize her a lot, but she was done. I think they utilized her perfectly. They didn't lean on her like, obviously, well, Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey movie, basically it was her movie. But you would have thought they'd lean on her a little bit more. At least that's what I felt like, and I was kind of scared of that. But no, actually, Bloodsport was the main character of this movie. At least that's how I felt. This kind of, we followed his story for the most part the whole time. In Bloodsport, man, he was kind of like a knockoff Deadshot. I mean, to be honest, I don't know too much about the Bloodsport character, but he was awesome. Like his weaponry was awesome. And Idris Elba, just what a performance by Idris Elba. What the great thing about Idris Elba is that sometimes you see actors they join a role, but it just feels like they're playing themselves in a different role. No, Idris Elba felt like a different person in this movie. You saw a bad side of Idris Elba, and I thought that was really cool to see, and to see him kind of, to see his character kind of open up towards, as the movie progressed, and him opening up about his relationships with other people and his motivations, I thought was really, really good. And Polka Dot Man, of course, Polka Dot Man was obviously, it was the most ridiculous thing you probably heard of, going into this movie. Polka Dot Man, I know I was talking with my brother, and he was like, dude, what is DC doing? Like, I mean, DC's, obviously the decisions DC and Warner Brothers has made have been pretty questionable, especially what they've been doing with their directors. But man, I thought what James Gunn did with Polka Dot Man was something that, man, I don't know if anyone could have made this character interesting and relatable. And I thought he was awesome. My favorite part about Polka Dot Man was the fact that whenever he used his motivations to kill, because he's not someone who likes confrontation or wants to kill anyone, but when he imagines them as people, as his mother, and we got to see his mother as different characters, I thought that was funny. I thought that was really creative, and it really made you feel his hatred towards his mother and his animosity towards his mother, and I thought that was great. And the way he used his powers was cool. It wasn't over the top. He's not someone who was a superhero, although he did become a superhero at the end, if you remember, for that brief moment. But yeah, he was good. He was good. I did enjoy Polka Dot Man a lot. He didn't even have a lot to do or a lot to say throughout the movie, but his presence was definitely felt, and then his impact, he definitely had an impact in the movie. Rick Flagg, I liked Rick Flagg a lot. Didn't care for him. I didn't care for him at all throughout the first theatrical cut, and I don't even know if the air cut will make me care for him that much more. But here, this Rick Flagg, man, I really did enjoy him. I loved the man's performance. It was great. King Shark, obviously being the Groot of this team, did have a lot of the similarities to Groot, yeah, to be fair, but he was definitely his own character, and over time, he was kind of endearing throughout the whole movie. So I did like King Shark. All right, so I didn't get really into specifics yet, into specific scenes, but if you guys have a favorite character and you're watching right now, let me know who your favorite character was. Who was the standout characters? You can list 3 if you want, but who were the standout characters of this movie? For me, they all stood out for me. I did really enjoy Harley Quinn's fight scene in this movie. Actually, I think this fight scene was probably the best Harley Quinn fight scene we've gotten. Better than all the fight scenes in Birds of Prey, even though the fight scenes in Birds of Prey were kind of overseen by, the John Wick stunt coordinator, I think it was, and director. Man, I think Harley Quinn's fight scene was just perfect. Like, I didn't quite get why the flowers started popping up at the end. Maybe it's just because she was, just because of her character itself. Maybe this is how she imagines herself. But, seeing Harley Quinn, shoot that dude she just slept with because of the red flags, she says. I thought that was, man, it felt like something Harley Quinn would do, and then her escaping, I thought was cool. I think every movie Margot Robbie is in, the directors show her feet. I think that, I don't know if that's just something directors like seeing, but it was funny seeing her break out, her taking the keys out, and then once she broke out, it was just an awesome fight scene. I thought that was one of her best fight scenes, and Margot Robbie delivers as Harley Quinn as always. She's just awesome. And I did love how in the beginning, when she joined the Suicide Squad and she kind of walks into the airplane, talking about her number 2 joke. It just came and went. That joke came and went, so whatever. But she walks by Captain Boomerang. Captain Boomerang goes, "Harley, why are you in jail again?" And she just, so it gives us a reason for her to actually be in the movie, because then it's like, hey, when does this movie take place? Before Birds of Prey, after Birds of Prey? But hey, clearly takes place after Birds of Prey. She just got locked up again for doing something stupid. She got angry at a bank during a bank robbery or something. So I did like that the relationships between the characters still carry over from the first Suicide Squad movie. Obviously that was going to happen, but we hear a lot of talk about soft reboots and all that. So I'm glad that we had those little moments for as little as they were, because there was not a lot of interaction between like Captain Boomerang and Harley, and even the first set of Suicide Squad members, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, one of the and this final act of this movie, super jam-packed with action, was really awesome. The intensity just built up, going from the sci-fi flick and the big action set piece at the end with Starro kind of, hypnotizing everyone. The effects looked amazing. Visually, the movie looked beautiful, and I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was I love the fact that this team, Bloodsport at the end tried to rally his team together, and it kind of failed at times. For example, when he gets Polka Dot Man to imagine Starro as his mother, Polka Dot Man kind of injures Starro, but ends up dying in the process. And they definitely used the R rating in all its glory in here, and not so glorious moments as well. And I'm going to talk about that later. But the R rating definitely made the movie feel like a Suicide Squad movie. We got to see these bad guys be bad guys at times, and be good guys in some crazy ways as well. So I really like that. And then for my last like, guys, my last like is that this is a complete vision. It's not something we have to fight as fans for later on. We got to see James Gunn be James Gunn, make a James Gunn movie within the DCEU, which was awesome, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole release the Snyder Cut movement, which I am so proud of, it was about getting a director his vision of the movie. And that's what we're trying to do with David Ayer as well. Get him to have his version of the movie. So I think one of the highlights of this movie is that we don't have to fight for that. We got the director's vision. And I would say to Warner Brothers, look what happens when you get the director to do his thing, right? Without any interference, for the most part. You get a movie with a super that's received really well by critics, and a lot of people would argue that those critics are paid off or whatever. But I enjoyed the movie, so I think the critics were being genuine in for the most part, because I did enjoy the movie as well. I didn't say it's a perfect movie, not my favorite movie in the world, and clearly not the best comic book movie of the year. That, for me at least, still is Zack Snyder's Justice League. But this movie I thoroughly enjoyed, and I don't think it deserves any of the hate. Or not any. It doesn't deserve all of the harshness that's being thrown at it by fans. We'll talk about that later. But let's go into my dislikes. Again, if there's any likes you guys thought that I missed, maybe drop it down in the comments below, and we'll get to it. But anyways, dislikes. First dislike is going from the beginning of the movie. The war aspect of the movie, I loved it. I loved how Amanda Waller had two teams, had not told the second team about the first team, and how they were just a distraction. It seemed like we didn't get to see enough of those characters. I was hyped. We got this big bold entrance, and we got the slow-mo shots, and we got the team forming up, and it quickly fell apart. And I get it. That was kind of the point. Sorry, we're on our dislikes now. So that was kind of the point. The point was to show how it made sense once you find out that this team was just a decoy for the second team to arrive safely on Corto Maltese. And it just sucks, because I did want to see I wanted to see Javelin do his thing. I wanted to see more of Captain Boomerang doing his boomerangs, although we did get to see it in this movie versus the first movie, which we saw him throw it once. Here we saw him throw it like once or twice, but we actually saw those boomerangs do its thing. So that was cool. But quickly, Mongal did like one thing in the movie. The detachable kid, so stupid. I liked how they leaned into the stupidity of his powers. What's his name? Pete Davidson. Oh man, it quickly went bad. I totally got why James Gunn did that, and I totally get the point of that scene. But I did wish we got to see a little bit more action from Mongal, who's essentially a race of from the race of the New Gods, if I'm remembering correctly. But I wanted to see the Team A do a little bit more damage before they got kicked off. Before they bit the bucket or kicked the bucket. And especially Captain Boomerang. I was really sad when he went out that quick early on in the movie. I had a feeling he'd be dead, as did most people, but I was kind of sad when he died that early. So there's that. Not all the comedy landed for me. Obviously, the trailers, I think if you watch my trailer reaction, I was a little bit like worried because the comedy just did not seem like it was going to do it for me. And for the most part, it didn't. I did laugh out loud a few times in the movie. Excuse me. But I did laugh. Peacemaker made me laugh quite a bit. Just kind of some of his mannerisms. I loved the scene in particular where... I mean, I loved and hated it, and I'll talk about that later. But I loved the scene where they were kind of Bloodsport and Peacemaker were trying to one up each other, and then they would kill an innocent civilian in a different way. But what's his name? Peacemaker kind of did the kind of whacking off gesture, and it was funny. I don't know. I liked his mannerisms. A lot of the jokes didn't land. His delivery sometimes was a little too fast and forced, but overall, the comedy, I laughed here and there. I can't even remember the funniest parts of the movie. I laughed here and there, but it didn't land completely for me. I'm curious to know what you guys thought about the comedy. And the R rating was great. I really enjoyed the fact that they were able to show the blood and the violence of the movie. But what I did find particularly disturbing that I didn't think we needed to see was, or again, this is the director doing his thing, right? But man, it kind of disturbed me when they were killing the innocent civilians without any regret or remorse. I know they're villains, but when you tend to grow with the characters and tend to like them, it's kind of weird. You feel weird after you see them kill innocent civilians. It's, there's this lady cleaning her clothes, singing, and then they just assassinate her without any second thought. It was just a little bit jarring for me. Again, I totally understand these are villains, these are bad guys, but it didn't feel like they were villains and bad guys at times. So that was pretty jarring, and the animal killing was kind of weird too. Like, I don't think I needed to see that, and I don't know if a lot of people would just go and burn a whole cage of birds. I thought that was, man, it was disturbing, but again, it was just a little awkward to me. I think there's moments in this movie that were a little awkward, and I'm like, I didn't think that needed to be in there, but I was easily, I just kept going with the movie, and you forget about it. But looking back, those things, especially the slaughtering of the rebels scene, was cool and disturbing at the same time, because you find out these are innocent people, and they just quickly breeze by that, and there's no second thought to it. That was kind of crazy. Little nitpicks with characters. Bloodsport's weaponry. Man, that's some Iron Man technology he has over there. Because I don't know how I got a lens right here. This little piece of thing right here becomes a gun. That's kind of like what happened. This little lens hood would become a full-on gun in the movie. He would put something onto the gun, and it would become a full-on new part of the weapon that shot bullets and everything. So I thought that was kind of awkward. That was just a little nitpick. But also a little nitpick about Bloodsport. We didn't get a little bit more about his backstory into why he shot Superman, and it would have been nice to elaborate more on that, but I totally get if you did elaborate more on that, it leaves you a little bit less room in terms of storytelling wiggle room for later on, and it wasn't necessary, but I wish I had gotten more of it, especially because we as fans love to live in this DCE world, so it would have been nice to get a little bit more from that. Outside of that, characters that I didn't really care for was maybe Amanda Waller's crew. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the crew members was actually James Gunn's girlfriend, who he puts in his movies. I know he put her in Brightburn as well. And I didn't particularly care for them because, they were okay. I get why they were there, and they were there to ultimately save the squad from being killed from Amanda Waller. Speaking of which, Iola Davis was great as Amanda Waller. A little bit, what is the word to say? She's a little bit more outrageous in this movie, for sure. I guess I would say a lot more screaming. And she would hesitate a little bit to kill each of the people, whereas in the first movie, she didn't really hesitate as much, it seemed like. But I did think the characters still fall in line, still kind of the same thing. It just highlighted the importance of the mission and why they needed to get that drive out. So I thought that was cool. And speaking of, similarities to the characters, Bloodsport and Will Smith's, I thought that they were gonna have kind of the similar backstory with the daughters, but the dynamic of Bloodsport's daughter and Will Smith's daughter in the first movie, totally different. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, that's what I thought. Those were my likes and dislikes of the movie. If you guys had any thoughts on that, definitely just drop them in the comments, or we'll do a follow-up video. I wasn't really prepared to do this video today. I found myself having a little free time before I head out to Disneyland today, so I thought I'd do a live stream. I did tweet about it last night, saying I'll probably do a live stream, and I ended up doing it. So it's always cool. No errors on my no glitches on my camera still, so that's cool. Let's go on to the third topic of today. The third topic is the fan response. The fan response to this, and David Ayer, and everything. First of all, the day this movie dropped, August 5th, I think there was someone put it out there that basically David Ayer had messaged one of the people who wanted to get released the Ayer cut trending and asked them not to postpone it. So that way, obviously David Ayer is cool with James Gunn and cordial with him, and he supports him. Directors supporting directors, you love to see that. But apparently fans kind of have their own agenda at times, and either for clout or for whatever reason they have, a lot of fans, or maybe they didn't even know that David Ayer didn't want this to trend on this day. They were trying to make the hashtag release the Ayer cut trend, even though David Ayer had asked the fan not to do that, or fans not to do that. Indirect messages, to be fair, so maybe not all fans knew. But anyways, man, what I'm seeing in the fan community, and we're going to jump to some tweets in a little bit, is really, really disturbing. Like, I see a lot of the fans, especially this, I'm a big Zack Snyder fan, obviously, and I love his version of the DCEU, but a lot of fans are treating this movie similarly to how critics treated Batman v Superman. So it's a little bit ironic. Like, before the movie, once the movie came out, it just seems like it's getting heaped with some of these, criticisms are fair, right? That's what critics do. But it just seemed like some of the criticisms just seem like brainless criticisms. So a lot of people, for example, are calling it's just a ripoff off the Suicide Squad. It's a totally different movie from the Suicide Squad. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just fans just being really obviously passionate about restoring the Snyderverse, which I am passionate about, but not giving this movie even a fair shake before it began. Telling the world they're going to hate it before actually watching the movie and deciding for themselves. Now, to be fair, a lot of people may say, hey, the movie doesn't look like it's for them, and maybe it isn't, and then they watch it and it comes to be true. But a lot of fans, I feel like they would have scored this movie higher. Let's say if Zack Snyder was, I think he was producing this movie, but if Walter Amada wasn't involved, for example, they would have scored this movie higher. Or if Zack Snyder came out and said, hey, I worked with James Gunn on this, they would have said this movie was awesome. Don't lie. That's what a lot of the fans would have done. Let's go to some of the tweets and check out like what I'm talking about here. Let's see. Boom. Okay. Let's see. Can you see? Oh, I don't know if it went. Oh, I hit the wrong. Boom. Right here. Let's see. Okay. I'm just on some of the tweets that I liked here. So one of the things is like people are like, oh, you're destroying some of these characters, and for example, Calendar Man. You destroyed Calendar Man. Like, first of all, Calendar Man isn't even the hugest villain out there, and he had like maybe a few seconds of screen time, but then, for example, people, and again, it always comes from a lot of fans that have that Restore the Snyderverse still, as a part of their identity on Twitter, so you could easily see it's a biased take on things. But then, when Zack Snyder totally killed Jimmy Olsen off early on, which I didn't care for. I mean, hey, if you want to do that, do that. But like, man, like they're trashing James Gunn for destroying a character or whatever that we haven't yet seen on screen yet. There's a lot. I don't mean to call anyone out here, but I have been getting a little bit annoyed how about how fans have been reacting to some of these things, because I do think it's unfair. Like, hey, I know James Gunn has a pretty bad past in terms of tweets. There's no indication that he actually committed the acts that he was talking about in those tweets, which were super disturbing and inappropriate and ridiculous and stupid. He apologized for that, and there's no evidence to point to the fact that he actually did those things. Just that he had a twisted mind and a twisted sense of humor. So yeah, that's kind of why I feel like people are hating on it, because of the director and the fact that he's getting the creative freedom that David Ayer should have got, that Zack Snyder should have got. So the fact that he's getting this freedom, they're being a little bit salty about it. And so at the end of the day, we fighted for this, for directors to get their creative freedom. So why, when a director does it and Warner Bros. Does something right, do you chastise the director for getting it, right? So, and I get it. We can all be salty and hate Walter Hamada and Jeff Johns and John Berg. Was it John Berg? Yeah, I think so. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the fan community. I do support the Release the Ayer cut movement. I hope we get it. I think if we do eventually get it, I do. You do know that, like, you could see the difference between Justice League and Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League and Justice League. The difference editing can make. And David Ayer only has to do a little bit of work. So why not release this in the hype of all of this? Maybe a little bit. May wait a few months and then release it. Build up the hype for it and then release it. Same thing we did with Zack Snyder. Let's give David Ayer his shot. And then, I don't know. Fans, I don't know. A lot of fans will never be satisfied, and they'll that's the thing with fandom, right? I'm over here trying to change the world over here. It's not going to happen. But anyways, that's what I thought about it. And my take on the fan response. I think a lot of fans are acting out of pocket. Hey, it's cool if you don't like it, but just think about the same criticisms that you're throwing. Would you have been that critical if it was Zack Snyder? That's all I'm saying, because I feel like a lot of fans wouldn't be. Anyways, next time maybe we can hop on with Darren. And then I'll definitely plan the live stream a little bit more. And normally I'll start my live streams a little later so more people can hop on. But anyways, if you do see this video, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and we'll get to it in a future video. Thank you guys for joining with me. I'm about to get out of here, headed off to Disneyland. I hope you guys all have a great weekend. I'm going to be celebrating my birthday, hopefully in Star Wars Land if I can get in. All right, guys. Thank you for rocking with me. I'll see you later. Peace.